Spend a little more time on the backhoe scrapping project here. Got rid of the other two cylinders, moved them out of the way. I'll take some photographs and post them online at some point. See if anybody wants them for better than scrap value. If not, to the scrapyard they'll go. Drove this pin out, which is the top of that cylinder that's inside there. And I was going to jack this up ahead of time, but I decided just to take my chances and see what would happen. That pin actually came out pretty easy, this huge one. Just took that bolt and washer off. That's over there, and slid out, tapping it out. It was well greased. Turns out that was one I actually got around the greasing occasionally. All these low ones here were all greased well. Anyways, then I used this as a drift pin, and then of course as soon as it popped out the other side, this arm dropped down, and now my drift pin's stuck in there pretty good. So now I'm gonna have to jack it up to get the pin out. So I'm gonna try and put my floor jack underneath this end here and see if I can lift this. Well, that was a piece of cake. Jacked it up a little bit and the pin came right out. Well, now I should be able to, let's see, I got all these hoses. No, I got one more hose to disconnect here, and then I should be able to tow this this whole arm out of here if the tractor can move it. I took that cylinder off. I just got to disconnect the hoses, and then I started to disconnect this here. So I took, where is it, that piece off right there. It goes over here, and then I realized that I can't get the one on this side off because that cylinder's too far. I can't get that snap ring out very easily. It'd be better if that was extended. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to temporarily slip the pin back in on this side over here, and then pull this thing that way to get that cylinder to extend enough to make it easy for me to get that snap ring off and drive that pin out and get this section off here. Well, that ain't gonna move. I put a big pry bar on that, and even with actuating the valve I can't swivel that back, so probably have to put a tractor on it and pull it over. But I'll shift gears and go to something else. Got the seat out of there, start taking some of that deck metal off, take this off. And got a problem here. Got the cylinder unhooked on this end. This pin is seized in there good. Same thing on the other side. That lower pin started sliding out, but I stopped because that's still elevated, and this pin's seized in there right here. So I could disconnect the two cylinders, swing them up, and tie a rope or a cable on them, keep them up out of the way if I want to roll this machine out of here. And I might just do that, but I got to see whether or not these stabilizers have come off. So I got to get these pins out, which these are held in by these little keeper brackets here that are bolted on. So I'm going to remove the keeper bracket on this side and see if that pin will come out. Okay, it's near the end of January, but we've got a beautiful day today. All the snow melted. We had some rain pass through, melted all the snow, and sun's shining, so decided to work on scrapping the backhoe. Ended up tying the cylinders up because these pins don't want to come out. They're seized in there, and ended up taking off a few more hoses. Took the top decking material, the toolbox that was under the seat and all that out. Took the shroud that covers this off. Took the hood assembly off. That's all sheet metal. The hood and that piece there are going to be sheet metal, and then the decking was all diamond plate steel. And then I towed the backhoe back with the tractor because I wanted to have a little more working room to drop the bucket down and start working on trying to get the bucket off. Now this pin right here moved, so I'll be able to, I know I can get this pin out, but even if I get that pin off, I gotta get the pin off there up there off, and then I can take the hydraulic cylinder off. And then on this side, this pin seems to be seized, so kind of stuck again. But then I decided, because of the way this is rigged up here, I've got room. I could actually try and push this pin using a hydraulic jack. But I started to do that, and this pin actually moved back, so I know that pin's now free. But now what's happening is my wood here that I'm using to gap across this gap right here is crushing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rig something else up, same principle, but something steel that won't give, and see if I can't get this pin to budge. All right, been at this all day, getting ready to quit. It's starting to get dark. Got this cylinder off. These front loader cylinders are in really good shape. The chrome on them is excellent, and they worked pretty well. So those must have been re-chromed at some point in the history of this machine, because they just look like they're in too good a shape to be original. Whereas the backhoe ones in the back, they're more chewed up, pitted, and areas of the chrome are completely missing. So anyways, I got that one off. I got the pin out of that one. I started moving the pin out on that one, so I think I'm going to be able to get that one off no problem. Where I ran into the trouble is I had a hard time getting these pins out, but I did get them out. But then these two back pins, which actually hold the bucket onto the arms, I got them to move out about that far on each side, and then they just kind of stopped dead. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do about that yet. But anyways, and then took some of these pins and drove them just to see if they'd move. And they seem to be moving okay. So that's it for today. Well, the snow has melted. Nice day today. We got so much snow though that it's not all going to melt. But today I'm going to revisit the old Pettibone backhoe with the 353 diesel engine, parting it out, scrapping it, because I think I've got a buyer for the blower. It's got a good blower on it, so figured I'd take it out today since it's decent out, not too cold. It's in the 40s right now, and like I said, the snow is melting at a pretty good clip. Hopefully the audio is going to hold up on this flip video. This is the one that's giving me the static problems, but I'm not bringing the good camera out here in the snow. I've never taken one of these blowers off before, so I'm not quite sure exactly how it's done, but I figure for starters, this intake part right here has to be removed. That looks pretty straightforward. I see a bolt here and a bolt here and 3 bolts along the bottom. So let me start by seeing if I could just pull that off. Well, I missed a bolt right here. This bolt right here, it looks like I thought it was a bolt that just like was a short one that covered a porthole or something, but it's actually a bolt goes right through the whole housing, so I gotta get that one out. Okay, so there's the front of the blower, and there's an interesting gasket here with the screen built into it. I guess that's to keep anything big from falling down into the intake there and getting sucked in if for some reason something got past the air filter, I guess. It's a good thing that's there too, because when I took this apart, I found this piece of metal right here, which is actually a piece that broke off. By the looks of it, I think this broke off of my makeshift junky muffler that I had up there, and it must have somehow fell into the intake at some point when I was working on it. Can't imagine how it got past the air filter. Well, maybe that's not what this is. I don't know. It's a piece of sheet metal though. But the important thing is it never got into the blower. Alright, so there's the screen off. You can see one of the rotors of the blower right in there. So now I'm hoping it's just a matter of taking these 4 big bolts off right here and hoping that the whole thing just comes right off. I'm hoping there's nothing inside here. I mean, obviously this is where the drive gears for the blower engage. But I'm hoping once you take these full bolts out, you can just slide the whole blower mechanism out. Looks like it might weigh a few pounds. Of course, when I go to withdraw the lower bolts, they hit the side rail, but I don't think that's going to matter in a minute, because hopefully, if I'm right, backing these bolts out, we'll disconnect it from the block and I'll be able to just pull the whole blower out with the bolts still in it. Well, I've got all 4 bolts loose. These 2 almost completely out. They're not threaded in anymore. And these 2 I backed off. I didn't completely unthread them because I was worried about the whole thing just dropping off. But they're loose enough now that I would have expected that to move, and it didn't. So I'm not worried about what else might be holding that in. I'm pretty sure they didn't intend for you to have to pull the engine to take the blower out of this. So actually that kind of answers my own question there. I don't think that's going to be the case. Not only that, if anything, it looks like, judging from this protrusion right here, it almost looks like that's a threaded hole. It almost looks like, oh wait a minute, what do we got here? That's a threaded hole. And lo and behold, aha, there we go. I think I just figured it out. These bolt heads right here that I thought just took this cover off the end here, I bet you they go all the way through and they thread into that. Ah, okay. Alright, so to keep this thing from dropping off, I'm going to put these bolts back in part way. Just make sure they're threading. And now I'm going to take out those 4 long bolts. And I'm not going to be able to take them all the way out because, again, they're going to hit up against here before I can withdraw them all the way. But I think I only have to back them out about, looks like maybe an inch. And they should come out from this housing right here where they're threaded into. Okay, so there were actually 6 bolts on the side there. And the one in the bottom rear was the toughest because it was kind of buried in a lot of dirt and grime, so it was hard to get the socket to bite on the head. But I scraped it out with a screwdriver and was able to get them all backed out. So now, theoretically, I think this whole unit will come out. Yeah, all I did was have to lightly pry between the block and the back there, and it popped out off. So now it's just a matter of lifting that thing up and out of there. Luckily, since the housing is aluminum, it shouldn't be too heavy. Problem is, I've still got this shoulder issue that's giving me trouble, and the damn loader arm is in the way here. I'll see if I can wrestle it out. There we go. One blower is the drive gears on this end here, and then that's the intake side. That's all the oil this thing was slobbering. You can see it in there. And then that's the side that goes up against the block back here.